I left the Trinity Service 1951. I'd been in since coming out of the army 1946. I did my training at Blackwall at London, the Trinity House training depot, and the first lighthouse I went on was the Bishop Rock. That was my initial. That was to go out onto the Bishop Rock. I had to travel by train down to Penzance and then go over to St Mary's.
So what sort of year was that?
Well, that'd be about latter end of 1946 when I first went in.
How long were you on Bishop?
I did 2 months.
Yeah. Did you go for any winter's time in that?
Yes, I had Christmas off there.
Can you just describe what it was like then?
This was before television, and we had Edward Ward, the BBC commentator, and engineer off with us. And of course the weather came up and we couldn't get them off for three more days. And Mr Ward wanted to know which bunk he was going to sleep in. So we told him where he'd have to go sleep down in the store locker, because nobody would give a bunk up, the bunk up. And seemingly after he was doing the radio link up, you know, with the Queen's speech on the Christmas Day from the Bishop.
Yeah.
So we had quite a time at that.
So what was the stormy weather like out there?
The weather, well, we couldn't get them off for 3 days. They had to stay with us for 3 days. So the weather was, I think the force 8 gale that was blowing then, like. And of course the waves were even way over the land, bottom land, and so there was no way anything could come near us.
When you were out on this lighthouse, what was your watches like?
You did 4 on, 8 off. 4 hours on watch and 8 off. What would normally be a day off, you'd act as cook, you know, for the day, like cook the main meal and everything. The other 2 would have a rest. You know, and that's how we used to have to make it up. And of course, it was a 7-day week job. You couldn't say, oh, well, we're having a day off, we're going to go to the pictures or something.
Was it 2 months on then?
2 months on, yes. And then a month clear.
So grubbing up and everything, was it all in barrels or boxes?
Box.
Yeah.
Mainly what you did was you bought beef, put all the meat into the jam jars, cooked it in its own juice, and then used to seal the top with the fat. And of course you had no refrigerator either, so it used to all keep.
Yeah.
I've even kept some of it and brought it ashore.
So you did all your own bread as well?
You had to bake your own bread. The first time I had to do that, I'd been called for watch at midnight, and head keeper told me that during the watch to bake some bread, which I did. Next morning, went to cut some bread, like, but couldn't even get the knife through the loaf. And we even dropped one loaf onto the rocks and it didn't even break. And Mr Stamford, the head keeper, he said, Tommy, if you don't know how to boat out, ask. I'll learn a lesson then, like, you know. Oh,
What other lights have you been on?
yeah. I've been on the Longstone up on the northeast coast.
Yeah.
Used to go out from sea houses there. Coquet Island, further down, off Amble. One or two of the coastal lighthouses. I can't just remember what.
You said you were on, was it the Breakwater and Holyhead?
Breakwater, Holyhead, the Salt Stack,
Yeah.
Skerries.
What was it like on the Breakwater?
That wasn't too bad, but even then, cycling back along the breakwater, you usually got wet like because the waves were coming over the breakwater.
Yeah. And did you actually stay on board? Or was it just backwards and forwards to your house?
Every third day you were having on the breakwater and the Salt Stack. You spent your third day, you came in the morning, but you'd having a day off, but you had to be back on for lighting up, take up a watch.
Right.
So,
and it was the old paraffin lamps?
The old paraffin, pressurised paraffin.
Yeah.
And of course, depending on the station, often the weights had to be wound up to keep the lens revolving.
Yeah.
And then of course, same with the South Stack, you had the fog on to look after, the compressor and that. Most of the rock stations were explosive type of fog signal. And of course that had to be, the arm had to be wound down from above the lighthouse. The detonators and charges put on, wound up again, and you had to go back inside to wait for a bell to signal to set the charge off. And then you just have to dash out again, wind it down and put the charges on and everything.
And that was all night long if it was foggy?
All night long it was foggy.
Oh, that's been great fun.
Oh no.
Were you ever at South Stack when they had the, was it the donkey? up and down
Yes,
the steps?
yes.
And can you explain what the donkey was used for?
The donkey was used to come into Holyhead, pick supplies up, your food, anything actually you wanted, and you went back up to take charges up to the North Stack, which was an explosive signal station. Supplied them with the detonators and charges there.
And I take it, was it steps down to the South Stack then? Or?
Yes.
And the donkey made
Well, years back, seemingly the donkey used to be taken down to the lighthouse, but we used to leave it up at the farm opposite the cafe at the top.
Yeah.
So that used to stay there.
Yeah. So did you enjoy being on the Stack then?
Oh yes.
What was your most favourite station?
The favourite station has been up on Coquet Island.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In amongst all the wildlife and the birds.
Yes, the bird. Used to get a lot of the eider ducks up there.
Yeah.
And then of course the migration periods, we used to have to watch the birds going over the different stations, keep a record of that. That used to have to be passed back to the British Bird Society.
Yeah.
Then again, used to have a look around as soon as it was daylight to see what had come into the lantern, during the night. Birds and that.
Did you get many killed then?
Oh yes, quite a few. And the seagulls.
Yeah. So what was Coquet like? Just an island, wasn't it?
Island, a lighthouse, and there, well, of course you had plenty of room to have a wander around. We had a small garden area as well, like,
Yeah.
so you weren't too bad on that.
So you've done all your veg and stuff there?
Yes.
I've
And
been
then-
here.
And of course, we had a small boat that we could use there,
Yeah.
so we used to put lobster pots out.
Oh, so you fed all right there?
Yes, oh yeah.
Has any lighthouse you've ever been on ever been haunted at all?
No.
No, because we hear tales occasionally from other keepers about Coquet, but we don't know whether they're pulling our leg or not.
No, I think, with the tradition of the Trinity Service, we have the story about when going on to one of the stations, and there were keepers on the station. They'd all disappeared.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the stories that stem.
yeah,
And I think that's why it was a rule with the Trinity Service that they only had 3 men on the stations, and you never took a pack of cards off. You weren't allowed to play cards.
that was in your day, was it?
Yes, oh yeah.
Were they dry lighthouses as well? No beer?
No beer, no.
Were you actually ever marooned longer than you should have been?
Oh yes, we've gone a week or so overdue.
Yeah, that was in the boat reliefs.
Yes, yes. The only fault with that is when you came ashore, you still had to go back on time. You didn't get time off in lieu, sort of.
So you could be, instead of a month off, you could be down to 3 weeks or less.
3 weeks or less.
Yeah. Did that happen very often then?
But fortunately, no.
You said you were on
Mm.
the bishop at Christmas.
Yes.
What was Christmas like then on a lighthouse?
Well, there was nothing really than the normal days.
Just a normal working day?
Just a normal working day. Well, the same at Sunday, always a working day.
Have you got any tales from different lighthouses?
I think I have a good one, like from the bishop again.
Yeah.
And the second time I went on, I'd qualified as a keeper then. Of course, I knew all the tricks of the trade. You get somebody on, and of course, the toilet facilities were very primitive. And it was a bucket with a piece of wood just with the hole in. And of course it had to be thrown over the side. But having the experience, you knew what to do, like, and of course and then you'd warn them, well, next time just have a look, see which way the inside is. Because if it got thrown into the wind, like, it's...
You get all your own back, was it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was when I was there, sort of 16 years ago. It was still
Yes.
bucket then.
Yes, yeah.
But now they're all flush toilets.
Yes.
But of course the bishop's automatic now.
Mm.
What do you feel about all the automation then of lighthouses?
Well, same as I said, it's not the sort of the same as when they were manned, you had somebody on watch.
Yeah.
You could see. Well, I've had it on the bishop when it's been very foggy. And you've gone on the galleries, put the charges on, and you've got somebody come on a loud air, where are we?
Yeah.
And you just have to go back onto them. If you don't veer off, we'll tell you where you will be. Ah,
Did you ever do fishing on these towers?
yes. Used to very often, like the bishop, used to have a kite.
Yeah.
Put the kite out and stop your hooks and everything from that.
Yeah, I've heard about the famous kite fishing.
Oh yeah.
Can you explain how it was done?
Well, your bait and hooks were on a very long line from the kite,
Yeah.
and of course you could control the kite to bring your bait down into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Bring the fish in.
Yeah.
Very often you get a nice cod or something like that,
Yeah.
or a mackerel, and used to enjoy that.
What about hobbies on these lighthouses?
I used to do a lot of map making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about ropes and stuff?
Rope, and very often you get, we used to have a firm that used to supply, old rags and that,
Yeah.
and you used to cut them and make rag mats in those days as hearth mats like. Or you used to sometimes do model making, mostly boats.
Yeah.
I've got some I've made upstairs.
Yeah. Did you do
Yeah.
ships and bottles at all?
No.
Yeah.
Some of the lads used to do that, like,
Yeah.
but we used to just do the model making.
And you were married, were you, when you were in the service?
I got married during the service.
And was that harder than being married?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I used to have, when I was on the skerries, I'd got a radio for home, like, with the wife, and she could get our wave band.
Yeah.
It's the only time I could talk to the wife and she couldn't answer me back.
I'll have to remember that.
Eh?
I'll have to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some lighters, they used to do semaphore and stuff. But
Yes.
you had a radio, which is a lot
Yeah.
better. And skerries, did you enjoy the skerries at all?
Oh yes.
What was life like on there?
Well, really dull, like, not much you could do to entertain there, like, or anything. No way you could do any gardening, anything like that there.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the spray used to spoil everything.
Yeah.
You got too much spray over there. And then the only other fault I had that was having 2 Welshmen with me.
So you're not Welsh then?
No. Well, I've had to learn quite a lot,
Yeah.
like, was
Who were can you remember who the two were?
a Mr. Williams and a Mr. Humphreys.
Not L.O. Williams, was it?
He used to live in London Road.
He still does. He's 80 now.
Yeah.
Was he the PK?
No, he's one of the senior ones, like, on
So who was the PK then?
I'm not too sure it was Mr. Sanford or not.
Yeah.
That was the one that collapsed on Bardsey.
Yeah.
They went up on the tower to see what was up with him. He'd collapsed while he was winding the weights up.
I'm not surprised on Bardsey. It's a
Yeah.
huge, great, tall tower, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose Skerries was weight driven as well, wasn't it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, where the Maritime Museum is in Holyhead, the old school, they've got the winding system there
Yeah.
for off the skerries.
Yeah.
As we came up holiday one time and we'd gone in there and the wife was talking to Captain Lewis and then they called me over and he asked me did I recognise it and I was trying to explain to him how it all used to work like.
I bet it wasn't as nicely polished as when you saw it last.
Oh no. Well, even like the salt stack, the engine room there, but you know, with the generator and the compressor,
Yeah.
you could eat a meal off the floor even.
Yeah.
Mm.
So a lot of your job as a keeper is keeping the place.
Keeping the place, yeah.
Mm.
And of course, before we'd put the covers over the lens, that had to be all polished and clean.
Yeah.
The burners all cleaned. Check that you got the spare mantle ready to go on and everything. Everything had to be shipshape.
How long were you in the service before you retired?
Just over 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I take it you enjoyed it.
Oh yes.
You'd probably do it again if you could, wouldn't you?
I'd have loved to have been able to stay with it though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
Mm. You know when you were on lighthouses where you had duty cook, what sort of meals did you used to get out of duty cooks? Was it always good, or did you get some really horrible cooks?
No, I think everybody knew that they've got to eat. They had to eat the same thing as well, like, so it used to be fairly good.
Yeah.
When it was your turn, you tried to do something a little bit different than you'd had for the 2 days previous, like. And it's surprising what varieties they used to be able to come up with.
Yeah. Mm. Was it more sort of friendly with, you know, in a tower rock than on an island?
I think the whole of the service, it didn't matter which station you were in, friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it had to be, or otherwise wouldn't be much of a life.
Yeah. You've never been on a station where you've been with some real miserable people, right?
The only one that said Mr. Williams used to be miserable.
Yes, I've heard that.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
And he used to have a nasty habit. He had a loose tooth, you know. And no. This is after I'd, you know, sort of finished. Well, I was working my last month ashore in down in the Trinity base, like.
Yeah.
And I was looking after the switchboard. And we had a clerk then, Mr. Lewis.
Oh, yeah, Edgar.
Edgar, yeah. And one of the girls came out the office, she was in tears, and she said, "Oh, Mr. Lewis again." Oh yeah. So that was that. And of course his flap went down, so I plugged in, and I just said, "If you sort your language out, I'll know what you're talking about. I'll so-and-so come and sort you out in a minute." I said, so I went round into the office. I said, "Mr. Lewis, will you do me a favour, please?" He said, "Certainly." I said, "Will you take your glasses off?" So he took his glasses off, and I gave him one. Yeah. Went back on the switchboard, and Captain Sherman's flap went down and plugged in. Said, "Tommy, come up to the office. I think you know what it's about." So I went up. He said, "Oh," he said, "not much I can do with it." He said, "You finish on Friday. What would you like to drink? Sit down." And he said, "Well," he says, "I've been longing to do that." He said, "But I couldn't do it." Yes. Oh.
Do you keep in touch with any of the other keepers?
Oh yes, I meet quite a few of them in Holyhead, like.
Yeah.
But I have to speak to the skipper that used to be the Argus, Captain Merrick.
Yeah.
Very often see him next door, like one or two of the other lads.
Yeah, because Holyhead was a great sort of Trinity House port, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did you see the review on the TV the other night?
Yes. what I was wondering about that, what I didn't see in front of the Britannia was the Trinity House
Yeah.
flagship. That usually,
I was on board that,
yes,
and we were invited on for the day, and because the weather was so rough
yeah,
and it couldn't keep up the speed, we had to be pulled out of the line so that Britannia could go on
yes,
front.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it was a bit of
yeah.
a disgrace for the for the service that we couldn't keep up.
Yeah. Well, of course, the old Trinity flagship, it used to be the Patricia.
Yeah, Patricia. Yeah,
Yes,
she's the proper flagship.
yes, yeah,
But I think she was not really ready. She's got to have a refit. Mermaid had just
yes,
had one,
yes.
so Mermaid was, in
Yes.
pristine condition.
Of course, being the Queen's pilot, that should have been in front.
Yeah, she was to start with.
Yes.
The Britannia soon caught us up.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for
Okay.
this and wish you well in all the rest of your retirement.
Thank you.